We're discussing a lot of the elements of the truthful passage through time and space to move through it with remembrance, having an awful lot of difficulty learning to control their minds so that their minds wouldn't get lost in all of that crazy thinking. How many of you can attest to that? That's a tough one, isn't it? To try to control the mind so that it doesn't produce all of that nonsense that results in so much distress, so much misery that's completely optional. And I said, well, that's kind of a common what I look at is a misunderstanding. It's not about controlling the mind. My sense is that if you try to control the mind, you're going to lose. We have built neural pathways and laid those babies down for years and years and years. And the very moment you encounter a stimulus out here in your world, and stimulus can be something somebody says, a stimulus can be the look on somebody's face, or the way they move, or. There's an infinite variety of stimuli out there, and every time you encounter one of those, there's an automatic kind of response to it from a cognitive standpoint. You see something here, and you're already right there. So if you try to control that and try to purify your mind so that it never entertains any thinking that's not absolutely true or helpful, you're going to be a real frustrated being. Because it's going to get you. I call mine Howard Cosell. I would encourage all of you to develop a personal relationship with your ego. Oh, really? Because it's always there. And I don't know, but Howard Cosell, I think, is a pretty good characterization, accurate, because how many of you remember Howard Cosell? Oh, Monday Night Football. Wait. But the key point about Howard was that he knew everything about everything. Howard was the ultimate authority on all things. And when Howard said something, by God, you better listen, because if you didn't listen, you were in dire straits. And he would get your attention and yammer away, and he could talk. The only person Howard ever met that could talk more than him was Muhammad Ali. Hey, the greatest. I'm the greatest, Howard. Shut up, Howard. I'm the greatest, man. They don't want to listen to you. Oh, they had some marvelous confrontations. But this person and I were talking, and I said, well, that's what I look at as a common misunderstanding of the path out of the domination of the mind. The mind is a wonderful servant. Oh, it's just beautiful servant, but it makes a tyrannical master. And so the idea is to shift your relationship with the mind a little bit without trying to destroy it or keep it from doing its thinking thing. And that's what it does. It's all physical ultimately, because if you see something out here or experience something with your sight, sound, touch, taste, or smell, or even your intuitive flashes on reality, and it kicks off a little cognitive process, and that cognitive process is a physical thing, really. It's little electrochemical patterns of energy traversing through along neural pathways, and your attention sitting there watching that, and then you're responding to it. And for the most part, we respond to that pretty unconsciously. We don't make conscious decisions about how we respond to that. And that's the dance. That's where we can step in. It's not about taming or cultivating only certain kinds of thinking. And apologies to Paul, but I found it so infinitely more helpful to understand the game going on here is not one of controlling the mind, but of watching the mind. And then refusing to invest agreement in the conclusions it comes to based on spiritually uninformed thinking. Can you handle that? Because that we can do. And I would say without fear of anybody denying it, that you simply can't control what goes on there 100% of the time. Now, you can take yourself away from it, and that's a strategy. That's one of the things you do. But the game is to become mindful, to highly develop your capacity to watch the play of the mind. And that comes out of a practice of meditation. that capacity to bear witness to the play of the mind is extremely important in this game of waking up. Because it's not so much what you're thinking, but that part of the thinking that you agree with, that you give agreement to. And that's a key, that's a key. It's not the thought itself or the thoughts themselves, it's the thoughts that you agree with that then become a perception of your reality. And without your agreement, the thoughts can't become a perception of your reality. Like, it'll come up and you say, oh, come on, Howard, you took me there yesterday and it stunk, man. I'm not going back there today. I don't care how much you want me to. I'm not going, thank you. And you can begin to have a dialogue with that. That's the kind of dialogue I have with my Howard. Because can you imagine, just try to imagine the last time you created a big charge of upsetness over something. And we feel perfectly justified when we do that. I mean, my God, anybody would get upset. Well, no, not anybody. Anybody who doesn't pay attention. Anybody who lets their mind run away with them and create some version. And that's the idea. There's the life that's going on out here, and then 1 inch behind our eyebrows is our version of what that's all about. And it's that version you can say no to, that's not accurate. A mindful person says, oops, something's up. What am I agreeing with going on up here that's changing the nature of my emotional experience of my life? It's providing that emotional kick. So get clear on that, because that's so important, so vital. You'll drive yourself crazy trying to control your mind, but each of us has the capacity to learn to watch our minds at play and choose not to invest agreement in that portion of the cognitive activity that's not grounded in spiritual truth. Okay? Catch that? So, that's spiritual truth. One example. What is a spiritual truth? Well, there's lots of them. But the one spiritual truth would be, if the brother whacks you on the right cheek, turn the other cheek. It's metaphorically meaning, hey, don't get into resistance. Don't insist that somebody be a certain way all the time. Don't should on folks, or yourself for that matter. And the moment you find yourself shoulding, how do you know? Is there a little key that can help you understand? We just went through 10 of those rascals. Oh, DJ, Meslev, shoulding. And every time you encounter something that's not going along according to your shoulds, and nobody's home saying, oops, you can get into lots of deep, deep, deep frustration, resentments, hostilities, separations. That doesn't feel like a lot of fun. So if you will, I invite you this week to do that little meditation every morning, that one that says you got nothing but golden Buddhas in your life. And every situation or circumstance that comes up for you, every person doing whatever they're doing, is there to help you take your capacity to see yourself at play a little deeper. They're there to help you move beyond creating totally unnecessary frustrations and agitations. And they do that by being what you think of as a source. They come into your life and do really dumb things. Yeah, they really do challenging things, challenging stuff. And the more challenging it is, give yourself a little pat on the back. The more challenging it is, that's an indication that you're getting pretty far down the road, because there's frustration 101, and then there's graduate level frustration, and then there's doctorate level frustration. And you get to experience all of it in ascending capacities, but you'll never be given more to handle than you can handle. You've all got the capacity to do that. So that said, just let me say thank you for listening on this Halloween day. And let's not forget our true identities. Every one of us has the capacity to learn to watch the mind and to choose not to invest agreement in any of its propositions that are not spiritually informed, okay? And you'll know that. You'll know that by the tenor of your emotional experience. If your emotions are, you're telling yourself the truth. If it's otherwise, check it out. What do you think? Fall on the ground? All right.